She went from texting you back instantly, laughing at everything you said, finding excuses to be near you, to suddenly going quiet, cold, distant. And you're sitting there thinking, what did I do wrong? Here's what actually happened. You did something right. So right, in fact, that it terrified her. And I'm about to explain exactly why. As a woman who has done this exact thing more times than I'm proud to admit, let me be brutally honest with you for a second. Most men have lost a woman who was falling for them. Not because she lost interest, but because they misread the single most confusing thing women do when their feelings get too real. She pulls away, and the man assumes it's rejection. He either matches her distance, gets passive aggressive, or worse, disappears entirely. And the woman, she's on the other side of that silence, quietly heartbroken, thinking, I guess he never really cared that much after all. This cycle destroys more almost relationships than actual incompatibility ever could. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that nearly 68% of people have experienced what researchers call fear of intimacy, a measurable psychological resistance to emotional closeness even when they genuinely want it. And here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. Women scored significantly higher on emotional vulnerability avoidance than men in several follow-up studies. Not because women feel less, because women feel more. And that excess of feeling is precisely what triggers the retreat. So, if a woman in your life has suddenly become a ghost after weeks or months of warmth, you need to hear what I'm about to tell you. Because what looks like rejection on the surface is often a woman's nervous system screaming, this person could actually hurt me because I actually care. And as a woman, I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening in her mind, why she does it, the specific patterns that separate genuine disinterest from fear-based withdrawal, and most importantly, what you should actually do about it. Because the wrong move here cost you someone who might have been the one, and the right move, it changes everything. Stay with me on this. By the end, you'll understand something about women that most men go their entire lives without grasping. Okay, let's start with the psychology behind this, because once you understand the engine, the behavior makes perfect sense. When a woman starts to develop genuine feelings for someone, something shifts inside her that's honestly hard to put into words. It's not just butterflies. It's not just excitement. There's a very real, very physical sense of losing control. And for women who are socially conditioned from childhood to manage emotions, stay composed, be the stable ones, that loss of control feels dangerous. Dr. Sue Johnson, the creator of emotionally focused therapy and one of the foremost experts on adult attachment, describes it this way. The moment we begin to depend on someone emotionally, our brain activates the same threat detection systems that would fire if we were in physical danger. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between falling in love and falling off a cliff. The same neurochemical cocktail floods your system: adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine. And for women who tend to process emotions with greater neurological intensity, according to research from the University of Basel, this experience is amplified. So what does a woman do when she feels herself free falling emotionally? She grabs for something solid, and the most solid thing she knows: her own independence, her walls, her distance. I'll be the first to tell you I've done this. I once met someone who made me laugh so hard my stomach hurt, who remembered the tiniest details I mentioned in passing, who looked at me like I was the only interesting thing in any room. And the moment I realized I was checking my phone every 3 minutes, hoping he'd text, I panicked. I didn't text him for 4 days. 4 days. Not because I didn't want to talk to him, because I wanted to talk to him so badly it scared me. I needed to prove to myself that I was still okay without him, that I hadn't handed someone the ability to devastate me. That's what pulling away looks like from the inside. It's not a power move, it's a survival instinct. Now, I want to be responsible here, because I'm not telling you that every woman who goes cold is secretly in love with you. Sometimes a woman pulls away because she's simply not interested. That's real, and you need to respect that. But here's the thing. Fear-based withdrawal and genuine disinterest look almost identical on the surface, but are completely different underneath. And there are specific patterns that reveal which one you're dealing with. The first pattern is the timing. If a woman loses interest, it tends to be a gradual, consistent fade. The energy slowly drains out of conversations over weeks. There's no dramatic shift, it just deflates. But if a woman is pulling away out of fear, the withdrawal is sudden and follows a moment of closeness. You had an amazing date. You shared something vulnerable. She told you something she doesn't tell people. You kissed for the first time. And then radio silence. That abruptness after a peak of intimacy is the hallmark of fear, not disinterest. She's not reacting to you being boring. She's reacting to you being too close. The second pattern is the inconsistency. A woman who's genuinely uninterested is consistently distant. She doesn't come back with bursts of warmth. But a woman pulling away from fear, she oscillates. She's cold for a few days, then suddenly she's back. Warm, engaged, maybe even more affectionate than before. Then she retreats again. This push-pull cycle is exhausting for both of you, but it's actually a very telling sign. She keeps coming back because the feelings are real. She keeps retreating because those real feelings overwhelm her. The third pattern is the micro-signals. This one is subtle, but it's gold. A woman who doesn't care about you won't monitor you. She won't watch your stories. She won't ask mutual friends about you. She won't notice when you post a photo with another woman. But a woman who's pulling away from fear, she's watching. She might not be texting you, but she's absolutely paying attention. If she's still orbiting your social media, still showing up in spaces where she knows you'll be still making eye contact across the room even though she hasn't responded to your last message, that's not someone who's moved on. That's someone who's trying desperately to move on and failing. The fourth pattern is the emotional leakage. Here's one most people miss entirely. When a woman is afraid of her feelings, those feelings leak out in strange ways. She might get irrationally annoyed with you over something trivial because anger feels safer than tenderness. She might make a sarcastic comment about people who catch feelings too fast. And she's talking about herself, not you. She might even bring up past relationships or casually mention that she's not really looking for anything serious. Right after a moment where everything felt very serious, that's not honesty. That's a smokescreen. She's trying to convince herself as much as she's trying to convince you. I think the most valuable thing I can do here is show you what this actually sounds like inside a woman's head. Because the external behavior, the coldness, the distance, the mixed signals tells you nothing about the internal war. Here's what the inner monologue actually sounds like. And I know this because I've lived it. And because I've had this exact conversation with more girlfriends than I can count. I need to slow down. I'm getting too attached. What if he doesn't feel the same way? What if I'm more invested than he is? I'll look desperate. I'll look clingy. I need to pull back and see if he even notices. If he notices and comes toward me, maybe it's safe. If he doesn't notice, then I was right to protect myself. Read that again because that monologue reveals something crucial. She's not testing you in some manipulative, calculated way. She's conducting a safety check. Her nervous system needs evidence that you're not going to abandon her before she allows herself to fall the rest of the way. And the tragedy is that most men interpret the distance as a signal to back off, which confirms her worst fear, which makes her withdraw even further until the whole thing collapses under the weight of two people who wanted each other but were too afraid to say it. Psychologist Dr. Amir Levine, co-author of the book Attached, calls this the protest behavior of anxious attachment. But here's what's fascinating. This behavior isn't limited to people with anxious attachment styles. Even securely attached women can exhibit fear-based withdrawal when the emotional stakes are high enough because falling in love with the right person raises the stakes higher than almost anything else in life. All right, this is the section that matters most because understanding why she's pulling away is only useful if you know how to respond. And I'm going to tell you something that might contradict every piece of advice you've ever received from your boys, from dating coaches, from Reddit threads at 2 a.m. Do not match her energy. I know the popular advice is if she's cold, be colder. Mirror her distance. Show her you don't need her. And look, if she's genuinely not interested, sure, walk away with dignity. But if she's pulling away out of fear, matching her coldness is the worst possible response. It confirms every anxious thought she's having. It tells her, you were right to be scared. He was never that invested. Instead, here's what actually works. And I'm telling you this as a woman who has been on the receiving end of both approaches. First, acknowledge without pressure. Send a message that says something simple. Something like, hey, I've noticed you've been a little quiet lately. No pressure at all. I just want you to know I'm still here and I'm not going anywhere. That's it. No essay, no emotional interrogation, no did I do something wrong, just a calm, steady presence that communicates safety. Do you know how powerful that is for a woman who's mid-spiral? It's like a hand reaching out in the dark. You're not pulling her toward you. You're just letting her know the ground is solid. Second, give her space without disappearing. There's a massive difference between giving someone space and vanishing. Space means you're not bombarding her with texts, not showing up uninvited, not demanding explanations, but you're still present. You still react to her stories occasionally. You still send that funny meme you know she'd appreciate. You're showing her that your interest isn't fragile, that her moment of doubt doesn't erase what you've built. Third, be emotionally consistent. This is the one that separates the men women fall in love with from the men women almost fell in love with. Emotional consistency. Women who are afraid of falling in love are fundamentally afraid of emotional instability because that's what hurt them before. If your mood, your attention, your warmth fluctuates wildly based on how she's treating you on any given day, you become another source of uncertainty in her life. But if you remain steady, warm but not desperate, present but not suffocating, interested but not anxious, you become the safest person she knows. And safety is the antidote to fear. Fourth, name the dynamic gently. If the push-pull continues and you've established enough trust, there's something incredibly powerful about gently naming what's happening. Not in an accusatory way, not "I know you're scared." More like, "I think what's happening between us means something to both of us, and I think that can feel like a lot sometimes. I just want you to know that I'm okay with taking this at whatever pace feels right." When a man says that to a woman who's been white-knuckling her own feelings, something inside her exhales because you've just told her that her fear doesn't scare you. And a man who isn't scared of her fear, that's the man she stops running from. Here's what happens when you respond to her withdrawal with steadiness instead of reactivity. At first, she might actually pull away a little more. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but think of it like this. She's been bracing for you to leave. When you don't leave, it destabilizes her expectation. She doesn't know what to do with a man who stays calm when she's chaotic. So she might test that steadiness one more time unconsciously just to make sure it's real. But if you remain that calm, warm, patient presence, something beautiful happens. The walls start to come down. Not all at once, not dramatically. It starts with small things. She texts you first again. She laughs a little louder around you. She starts making references to the future. We should try that restaurant sometime, testing whether you're still planning on being around. She asks you questions about yourself that go beyond surface level. She tells you something she's been carrying alone. And then one day she looks at you with this expression that's hard to describe but impossible to miss. It's relief. It's gratitude. It's the face of a woman who realized she could fall and someone would actually catch her. I've seen it happen. I felt it happen. And every woman I know who's found lasting love will tell you the same thing. The man she ended up with wasn't the one who chased her the hardest. He was the one who stayed steady when she tried to push him away. There's one more thing I want to address before we wrap up, and it's important. Some of you watching this are on the other side of this dynamic. You're the woman. You're the one pulling away, and you've been telling yourself that it's because you're independent or not ready or just not that into him. But deep down, you know the truth. You're terrified. And I want to tell you from someone who has sat in that exact fear that protecting yourself from love doesn't actually protect you. It just guarantees the outcome you're afraid of. You push away the person who could make you happy, and then you grieve them as if they left on their own, but they didn't leave. You never let them stay. The bravest thing a woman can do isn't to be invulnerable. It's to say, "I'm scared, but I'm choosing you anyway." That's not weakness. That's the kind of strength that actually changes your life. So here's what I need you to take from this. If she's pulling away after things were going well, after real connection, real warmth, real laughter, don't assume the worst. Consider the possibility that she's not rejecting you. She's rejecting the vulnerability that comes with wanting you, and how you respond to that moment will determine whether she becomes someone you used to know or someone you build a life with. Now, here's something I want you to think about carefully. Everything I've talked about today covers what happens when a woman is fighting her feelings. But what about when she's already stopped fighting? What about the moment a woman has made her decision quietly, internally, and chosen you? because that moment exists. And most men miss it completely because they're still stuck analyzing the mixed signals from 3 weeks ago while she's already 10 steps ahead emotionally. She's already chosen you. She's just waiting for you to realize it. And there's one sign, one specific, undeniable sign that tells you she's already there. I broke it down in detail in the video showing on your screen right now. It's called the only sign that confirms that she already chose you. And honestly, if you've watched everything I've shared today and you don't watch that next, you're leaving the most important piece of this puzzle on the table. That video is the second half of this conversation. Go watch it right now, because understanding why she pulled away is only half the equation. Knowing when she's already yours.